Today we will show how one man's art made the world different, but where do we start?
Oh, the things you can think when you think about Seuss! 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 Seuss, 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 Seuss! Oh, the things you can think.
Theodor Seuss Geisel was born on March 2, 1904 in Springfield, Massachusetts, to Theodor Robert Geisel and Henrietta Seuss Geisel. After spending his childhood here, Geisel decided to attend Dartmouth College at the age of 18.
In college he was helping to produce the school's magazine and became Dr. Seuss.
Geisel was the editor-in-chief of the school's humor magazine, Jack-O-Lantern, but when he was caught drinking in violation of prohibition, Theodor was kicked off of the staff. However, he continued contributing to the magazine by anonymously writing under the pseudonym Dr. Seuss.
To Oxford he went, but left for his wife, who convinced him that art would improve his life.
After graduating from Dartmouth, Geisel attended Oxford University in England, intending to become a professor. However, he dropped out in 1927 after marrying a woman named Helen Palmer, who convinced him to pursue an art career back in America. Geisel decided to work in cartooning full-time upon returning to the United States. He had a few articles and illustrations in magazines such as Life and Vanity Fair, and the first cartoon he published under the name Seuss was in the July 1927 issue of the Saturday Evening Post, and this landed him a job at the New York Weekly Judge. He then began to work in advertising for Standard Oil, and his Flit ad became famous.
He published books more and more, and soon decided to help with the war.
After his time working in advertising, Viking Press offered him a contract to illustrate a book, but it did not sell well. While this venture was unsuccessful, it gave him an opening into children's literature. Geisel published over 60 books after returning to the United States, the first of which was And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, published in 1937. Some of his most famous works are The Cat in the Hat, published in 1957, and Green Eggs and Ham, published in 1960. Several of his books have been turned into movies, including How the Grinch Stole Christmas,
The Grinch! Well, that worked out nicely.
Horton Hears a Who,
Even though you can't hear or see them at all, a person's a person, no matter how small.
and The Lorax.
Did you chop down this tree?
What's that?
Even though he is most known for his famous light-hearted children's books, some of Geisel's most important works were much more serious. During World War II, Geisel used his talents to help the military with a series of over 400 editorial cartoons as the chief editor of the New York newspaper, the PM, from 1941 to 1943.
Geisel spread his ideas and stances, and in the war he liked our chances.
His cartoons covered a variety of topics, from American isolationism to promoting United States war bonds. In his early drawings, Geisel heavily criticized those that called for the United States to avoid the war. He often portrayed them as ostriches, like in this cartoon, satirizing people who tried to ignore the war. Later, he shifted his focus towards selling United States war bonds and stamps. This cartoon, urging people to buy war bonds, portrays a future where the faces of Axis leaders, Hitler and Hirohito, have been carved onto Mount Rushmore. His cartoons were part of a larger effort by the Treasury Department to mobilize the home front to support the war financially through all types of media. By the end of the war in 1945, the United States spent a total of $341 billion, equivalent to $4 trillion today.
He began to serve in 1943 and helped to show how soldiers should be.
Geisel joined the United States Army in 1943, moving from New York to Hollywood to work with Frank Capra's Signal Corps unit. Here, Dr. Seuss put his pen to work redesigning military training manuals with his charismatic characters. He also helped produce and write for Private Snafu, an animated cartoon series aimed towards soldiers. These cartoons portrayed the dangers of soldiers who disobeyed orders, such as leaking information or ignoring censors.
Cold? It's so cold it would freeze the nuts off a Jeep.
Promoted to major and wanting to win, Geisel made films Saw Victory Begin.
Dr. Seuss was promoted to Major Seuss in 1944. At the same time, Geisel also began working primarily on live-action war documentaries and propaganda films. He produced several of these films, including Your Job in Germany,
The problem now is future peace. That is your job in Germany. You'll see ruins. You'll see flowers. You'll see some mighty pretty scenery. Don't let it fool you. You are in enemy country. Be alert, suspicious of everyone. Take no chances. You are up against something more than tourist scenery. You are up against German history.
And know your enemy, Japan. These films were intended to inform soldiers about the war effort and the situation on the battlefields.
Geisel then saw he was losing his wife. She suffered from cancer and soon took her life.
Theodor's marriage suffered as his wife was diagnosed with cancer and the symptoms began to affect her daily life. In 1967, Helen took her own life after discovering that her husband had been having an affair. 1 year later, Geisel married his mistress.
Geisel was praised for many works. He was admired for all of his quirks.
Geisel was a well-recognized and praised writer. He won many awards throughout the years. He won the Caldecott Medal 3 times, in 1948, 1950, and 1951. For his animated film, The Grinch Grinches the Cat in the Hat, Geisel received the Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program. Later in life, in 1984, he won the Pulitzer Prize, honoring his career educating the young people of America. Theodor Geisel died on September 24, 1991, in California due to oral cancer. While he is no longer alive, the legacy of his children's books and influences on the Second World War live on. His work reflected his beliefs, and he stood up for his political stances. Theodor Geisel embodied this quote from his book, The Lorax.
Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Hold on a minute. Where is it now? Don't go, I've got something for you. Here it is. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. Catch, don't muff. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water. Feed it fresh air. Grow a forest. Protect it from axes that act. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back.